and what happened to the garage, that there wasn't time to provide protection. One of the reasons that there wasn't time to provide protection is that the fire chief who was in charge here had firefighters fighting fires in other parts of the park who then needed urgent support because of how rapidly the fire was moving. And so once they'd done as much as they could on this residence, they had to move on to take care of their fellow firefighters and keep them from getting. So you can see with the architecture of the garage, the stone foundation, very similar to the residence for the Rangers. Unfortunately, there's nothing left above that stone foundation, although the garage looked very similar to the house. And so you can see how on the hillside behind where the garage was, how the fires completely eradicated all the vegetation and burned right through it. This is up at the top of the hill, and the chimney effect from the fire coming up here made it very intense and very fast moving, which is why they didn't have a chance to defend that portion of the home site. On the other hand, if you look over at the residence, you can see that from the foundation up through the cedar shake shingle roof, it's effectively undamaged, and it looks like this on all sides of the residence. That was from the firefighters' incredible efforts defending this area, getting the barricade in place, clearing out brush as the fire was coming up the hill. Unfortunately, there wasn't time to do that. You can't tell now after the Park Service has cleaned up the site, but when the barricade's first put on, it looks like almost a frosting that's covered the house, or a glaze of ice that covers it to hold the water in place to protect it from the fire. Once the fire comes through and it's time to clean it up, the barricade gel can just be rinsed off the surface, and you can see what a great job they've done now. The shutters are still intact, the siding still looks good, and you can't even really tell it was there. One thing that's very easy about the barricade gel is it can just be rinsed off. It's biodegradable, it's non-toxic, it can just be rinsed into the landscaping and the grass, and it'll break down on its own there. So it doesn't harm anything. There are no special measures that you have to take in removing it, which makes it particularly convenient for people to use so that it can go on quickly, and then once the fire is over and it's safe to return home and start the cleanup, this is something that you can remove without any special measures or extra chemicals, then return your house to normal as quickly as possible. After it's been removed, you can see how clean the paint looks. There hasn't been any damage to the windows. There hasn't been any damage to any of the structures around the house. Even though the entire building was sprayed with it, it's back to normal, and wonderful that the Rangers still have a cabin here to return to, largely because of the protective effects of barricade gel. We're now at Travis Johnson's house. He's one of the Palomar Mountain State Park Rangers who is here helping with evacuation efforts and safety efforts during the fire. And his house is another wood frame home within the park. Beautiful place to live, but as you'll be able to see from the video footage, was completely surrounded by flames as the fire came through the park. Also up a small valley here that was drawing the flames directly towards it. And one of the big efforts went into saving this home inside the park. The home was covered with barricade gel as part of the defense. So here we're looking at a close-up of the front of the Rangers' home, and you can see the barricade gel containers left from the application. They were just detached from the hose in the applicator unit as they were changing them out so they could quickly move from unit to unit of barricade to get it applied to the house. As you look further up on the structure, you can see where barricade is still adherent to both the paneling and to the windows, creating a glaze over all the surfaces that holds water in place. This barricade was applied 10 or 11 days ago, and just before the fire came through, and since then it's still been very low humidity weather throughout the top of the mountain. However, the barricade's still holding moisture, and if you went up to the gel glaze that's still in place, you'd find that it's still wet and adherent to all the surfaces, illustrating how long it can hold water in place to provide continued protection even when you aren't immediately available to continue defending your home, or when firefighters have been called to other areas on the mountain.
You can see that with just a light misting of water, not enough to wash the barricade coating off, but just enough to let it rehydrate and soak up the water. You can see how quickly it comes out to this gel, and this, even 12 days after the application, would definitely keep this house from burning.
But as you see, the house is still standing, and that was heavily gelled. And then my one day that I was gone off the mountain, they gelled my house, which saved my house.
Yeah, one of the perks, I guess, of being a park ranger here in this beautiful area is that you get to live in the state park, and where we saw your house, looks like the fire came right up. Must have been pretty scary, but you had time to get the gel on your house before the fire hit.
Yeah, like I said, they took care of that. That was all taken care of while I was gone, but they got the gel on. They actually started that the day I left. When I called to find out how things were going, I did have a little scare. They had a little hesitation in their voice when they were talking about my house, but they finally told me
Dale and Michelle, we're standing here in front of your beautiful home that I'm happy to report is still standing after the fires. And like so many residents up here, you guys play multiple roles in this community. You're both firefighters. Yep. Michelle, as we talked, you were out of the area that night trying desperately to get back. Dale, you were here. Mm-hmm. Did you get any phone calls from your wife?
Yeah, one phone call saying, "Did you barricade the house? Did you barricade the house?" She repeated it about 5 different times. And yes, I did barricade the house.
Took care of that priority. And Dale, tell us a little bit, as a homeowner, tell us a little bit about the operation of putting the gel on your own structure with a wildfire coming at you.
I thought basically it went on pretty easy. It went on with a garden hose if you have the right attachment for it, and it sprays on pretty easy. And you just put a nice thin coat over everything, and then you can relax and go fight your fire if you have to.
Yeah, in your case, get on a fire truck and go elsewhere. It's a beautiful home, tall peaked roof here. I'm guessing it's maybe, 20 feet, more than 20 feet. Yeah, to the top. With your water pressure coming out of the garden hose, were you able to reach
I was able to reach the peaks of the roof.
Good. Good. Well, again, we're glad that your home is safe, and again, thank you for your service to the community. It's obviously such a beautiful place, and it's still
beautiful.
Yeah, still
Still
here
beautiful.
too.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.